Why Vaemond Velaryon betrayed his house by challenging Lucerys' claim to Driftmark. Welcome back, everyone, to the channel where fantasy meets strategy and nostalgia fuels our digital adventures. What makes a man betray his own blood? What drives a lord to defy his family's legacy, to spit in the face of the very house that gave him power? For Vaemond Velaryon, the younger brother of Corlys Velaryon, this moment came when he dared to challenge the claim of young Lucerys Velaryon to the seat of Driftmark. Was Vaemond acting out of duty, seeking to preserve the honor of his house? Or was he consumed by ambition, seizing an opportunity to elevate himself when his family was most vulnerable? Stay with me, because today we're diving into one of the most treacherous betrayals in House of the Dragon, Vaemond Velaryon's challenge against his own kin, a decision that not only cost him his life but also helped light the flames of civil war. To understand Vaemond's betrayal, we must first understand the man he lived in the shadow of, Corlys Velaryon, the Sea Serpent. Corlys was no ordinary lord. His voyages across the seas made House Velaryon richer than the crown itself. He was bold, daring, and larger than life, a man who built his house into one of the most powerful families in Westeros. And then there was Vaemond, Corlys's younger brother. Competent, yes, respected, perhaps, but never the legend, never the chosen one. For years, Vaemond lived beneath Corlys's towering reputation. So when Corlys fell gravely ill, when the question of succession loomed over Driftmark, Vaemond saw his chance. Here lies the heart of the matter. Rhaenyra's children, Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey, were, by law, Velaryons. They carried the name. They were declared heirs, but the court whispered otherwise. Their dark hair, their strong features, spoke of Harwin Strong, not of Laenor Velaryon. Everyone knew the truth, even if King Viserys refused to acknowledge it. And for Vaemond, this truth was both scandal and opportunity. Because if Rhaenyra's sons were bastards, then Lucerys had no rightful claim to Driftmark. And if Lucerys was disqualified, who stood next in line? Not Rhaenyra, not her sons, but Vaemond Velaryon himself. Now, here's the crucial question. Was Vaemond motivated by duty to his house, or ambition for himself? On the surface, he could argue duty. After all, House Velaryon's legacy mattered. Driftmark was the seat of the greatest naval power in Westeros. To place it in the hands of a bastard, a boy with no Velaryon blood, was to dishonor generations of seafarers who had built their name on salt and loyalty. But beneath the surface, ambition burned. Vaemond had always been second to Corlys. This was his chance to step out of his brother's shadow, to claim the seat he had long been denied. Was he defending his house, or grasping for power? The truth lies somewhere in between. When Corlys's illness left him near death, the succession of Driftmark became a question too urgent to ignore. Princess Rhaenys, Corlys's wife and Vaemond's sister-in-law, supported Lucerys's claim. She argued that it was her husband's wish and that the king himself had named Lucerys heir. But Vaemond would not stand silent. He rallied his supporters, insisting that blood must matter, that only those of true Velaryon descent could inherit the Driftwood throne. It was a bold move, but also a dangerous one. Because in challenging Lucerys, Vaemond was not only defying his own bloodline. He was defying the king's will. When the matter was brought before King Viserys, tensions exploded. Vaemond strode into the throne room, his words sharp as daggers. He declared Lucerys unworthy, a bastard, an insult to House Velaryon. He did not just challenge Lucerys's claim, he openly insulted Rhaenyra, branding her sons illegitimate. This was not merely political. It was personal. With every word, Vaemond cut at his family's honor, tearing open wounds that had barely been contained for years. And in doing so, he crossed a line from which there was no return. King Viserys had long refused to hear any question of Rhaenyra's children's legitimacy. To him, they were his grandsons, blood of his blood, heirs to his throne. So when Vaemond spoke his accusations in open court, Viserys reacted with fury. He declared Lucerys the rightful heir to Driftmark, silencing any further challenge. But Vaemond was not silenced. His defiance burned too hot. He raised his voice, making his accusations bolder, louder, impossible to ignore. And then, in that moment of fatal arrogance, he sealed his fate. When Vaemond called Rhaenyra's sons bastards, he not only insulted her. He insulted Daemon Targaryen, her husband. And Daemon was not a man to let such words pass. In an instant, Daemon drew his blade and struck, slicing Vaemond's head clean from his shoulders. His tongue, they say, still wagged as his body fell. Justice was swift, too swift for Vaemond to even comprehend the price of his betrayal. So why do we call this betrayal? Because Vaemond's challenge was not only against Lucerys. It was against his brother's wishes, his sister-in-law's support, his king's decision, and the unity of his house. A house divided cannot stand, and by defying Lucerys, Vaemond fractured House Velaryon at a time when unity was essential. Perhaps he believed he was defending his house's honor. Perhaps he told himself he was protecting bloodlines. But in truth, he put his ambition above his family. And in Westeros, that is betrayal. Vaemond's death was more than the end of one man. It was a signal to the realm. It showed that King Viserys would tolerate no challenges to Rhaenyra's children. It showed that Daemon's ruthlessness would protect Rhaenyra's claim at any cost. But it also deepened the divide. The Hightowers and their allies saw Vaemond's death not as justice, but as proof that the Targaryens ruled through fear and blood. His betrayal, and his death, poured fuel on the flames of the coming war. In the end, Vaemond Velaryon was a man torn between two truths. 1. The truth he spoke, that Lucerys was not of Velaryon blood. 2. The truth he denied, that by speaking it, he doomed himself and betrayed his house. His ambition blinded him to consequence. His pride led him to defy the very family he claimed to protect. And in that fatal moment before the Iron Throne, Vaemond Velaryon ceased to be a loyal brother, uncle, and lord. He became a traitor to his own blood. Vaemond Velaryon's betrayal was not born in one speech, or in one challenge, or even in one ambition. It was born in years of envy, in shadows cast by greater men, in whispered truths that no one dared to speak aloud. And when he finally chose to speak those truths, he found that the price of betrayal in House Targaryen's world was not exile, not disgrace, but death. So the next time you hear Vaemond's name, remember this. He was not only a man who challenged a boy's claim to Driftmark. He was the man who betrayed his house, and paid for it with his head. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for full breakdowns of trailers, cast interviews, behind the scenes, and deep dives into every episode of Kingsroad. Until then, remember, in Westeros, even the smallest step can echo across history.